Ethan Cole had lived his entire 32 years in the quiet timber town of Briar Glen, a place where everyone knew your truck by the sound of its engine and gossip traveled faster than the river after a storm. He worked long days repairing farm equipment and old pickups, the kind of honest work that left grease under his nails and peace in his heart. Life was simple, predictable even. But on the night the forest swallowed the moon and the wind carried something more than the scent of pine, Ethan's ordinary world cracked wide open. He had been driving back from a late repair job, his headlights cutting a narrow tunnel through the dense woods lining the old county road, when he saw movement, quick, desperate, human. At first, he thought it was a deer darting across the gravel shoulder. But then he caught a glimpse of pale fabric and a figure stumbling through the trees. Instinct overrode hesitation. Ethan slowed the truck, heart thudding, and stepped out into the cold night air. That's when he heard it, a faint cry, almost swallowed by the wind. He followed the sound into the forest, pushing past branches until he found her collapsed beside a weathered mile marker, her dress torn and smeared with mud, a thin line of blood trailing down her cheek. She looked completely out of place, like someone who belonged under chandeliers, not beneath towering pines. Her breathing was uneven, eyes wide with fear. When she saw him, she tried to stand, panic flashing across her face. "Don't," Ethan said gently, kneeling a safe distance away, palms open. "I'm not here to hurt you." She studied him, his worn boots, dirt-stained jeans, calloused hands, and something in his steady gaze seemed to calm her. After a long pause, she whispered, "Please, they can't find me." Ethan didn't ask who they were. He just helped her to her feet and guided her to his truck, wrapping his flannel jacket around her trembling shoulders. Back in town, he brought her to his modest cabin at the edge of Briar Glen. He cleaned the cut on her cheek with careful hands and offered her soup in silence. She said her name was Claire. That was all. No last name. No explanation. But the fear in her eyes told a story deeper than words. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the cabin windows, revealing the stark contrast between them even more clearly. Claire carried herself with a kind of quiet elegance, despite the borrowed clothes and the exhaustion lining her face. She moved like someone accustomed to marble floors and boardrooms, not creaky wooden steps. Ethan tried not to stare, tried not to wonder why a woman like her would be running through the forest at midnight. But small towns breed curiosity like fields grow corn. When the local sheriff stopped by that afternoon, casual as ever, mentioning reports of black SUVs seen near the county line, Ethan felt Claire tense beside him. The sheriff left with a polite nod, unaware of the storm brewing inside the cabin. That night, Claire finally spoke. She told Ethan she hadn't gotten lost in the woods, she had escaped. Her father was a powerful billionaire investor with connections that stretched across continents. After his sudden death months ago, Claire inherited everything, the empire, the wealth, and the enemies. She discovered irregularities in the company's finances, illegal deals, bribery, things her father would never have allowed. When she tried to investigate, she realized someone inside the company didn't want her asking questions. Someone with enough power to make her disappear quietly. The black SUVs weren't coincidence. They were sent to bring her back, or silence her. Ethan listened, stunned. Briar Glen was the kind of place where the biggest scandal was unpaid parking tickets. Now, somehow, a corporate conspiracy had landed in his living room. "Why not go to the police?" he asked. Claire's laugh was hollow. "You don't understand. When money talks, doors close." She explained that she had taken evidence, documents proving corruption, and fled before they could seize it. She needed time. She needed somewhere no one would think to look. A forgotten small town deep in the woods was perfect. Ethan should have felt afraid. Instead, he felt something else, protective. Determined. He'd been raised on stories of doing what's right, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Over the next few days, Ethan became Claire's shield. He drove her to secluded spots where she could make secure calls to a journalist she trusted. He kept watch whenever unfamiliar vehicles passed through town. In the quiet moments, they talked, not about money or danger, but about life. Claire admitted she'd grown up surrounded by luxury but starved of authenticity. Ethan shared stories of fixing tractors at 16, of losing his mother young, of learning that integrity mattered more than wealth. Somewhere between shared laughter over burnt pancakes and tense glances at the road, something shifted. Claire stopped looking like a stranger hiding in his cabin. She started feeling like someone who belonged there. But danger has a way of catching up. One evening, as dusk painted the sky in bruised shades of purple, two sleek black SUVs rolled into Briar Glen. They didn't fit. Not with the rusty trucks and faded storefronts. Ethan saw them from the garage window and knew the storm had arrived. He rushed home to warn Claire. They had a choice, run again or stand and fight. Claire's voice trembled, but her eyes were steady. "I'm done running." She handed Ethan a flash drive containing every file she had gathered. "If anything happens, make sure this gets out." But Ethan had another plan. He contacted the journalist directly, arranged a live release of the documents, and ensured multiple media outlets would receive copies simultaneously. If the truth went public, there would be no silencing her quietly. As headlights flooded the cabin windows, Claire squeezed Ethan's hand. For a moment, fear threatened to overwhelm her, but then she remembered why she had fought this far. The men who arrived expected an easy retrieval. Instead, they found a small-town mechanic standing firm in the doorway and a woman who refused to be controlled. Hours later, as news alerts exploded across national headlines exposing the corporate corruption, the SUVs retreated. Power had shifted. Claire wasn't prey anymore. She was a whistleblower with the world watching. In the days that followed, legal investigations began. Arrests were made. Claire's name filled television screens, but not as a runaway heiress. As a courageous leader who chose integrity over comfort. She could have returned to penthouses and private jets immediately. Instead, she stayed in Briar Glen a little longer. Long enough to realize that the peace she felt beside Ethan wasn't something money could manufacture. One evening, standing by the same forest road where he had found her, Claire looked at Ethan and smiled, a real smile, free of fear. "You didn't just save me that night," she said softly. "You reminded me who I wanted to be." Ethan shrugged, humble as ever. Sometimes getting lost is how we find what matters. Their worlds were different, yes. But courage doesn't recognize social status. Neither does love. Claire eventually rebuilt her company with transparency at its core, investing in small communities like Briar Glen, creating jobs and opportunities. And though she traveled often, she always returned to the quiet cabin in the woods. Because that's where she had discovered that strength isn't about how much you own, it's about what you're willing to stand for. And if this story moved you, if you believe ordinary people can change extraordinary circumstances, make sure you subscribe to this channel and join us for more powerful stories of courage, love, and destiny. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts, and you never know which one might inspire your own next brave step.